I am going to try really hard not to cry. I made my final student loan payment in May. Oh, crap. I'm officially debt-free, which is wild. I started making extra student loan payments in December. I stopped shopping and I put every extra penny onto my student loans, which were $22,817.51. Because of COVID and the Save Plan litigation, my loans were in forbearance for several years. So over the life of the loans, I paid a total of $8.18 in interest. This is just government loans. I did have a private loan that I had taken out, but I paid it off in 2019 when I graduated. That was way higher of an interest rate. All in all, I had about $40,000 in student loan debt when I graduated in 2019. I'm Maria. I share a lot of content on voting with my dollar and conscious consumerism. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and feel free to check out some of my other content. I have a feeling this will take me a little while to record and get through, and I'm gonna share a bit toward the end about how I am feeling with content creation and kind of where I'm at mentally with that. Quick overview, I started this Vote with My Dollar challenge based on the results of the election in the United States because I wanted the money that I spend to have an actual impact. I wanted to support companies that align with my values. I wanted to pay off my student loans, max out my retirement accounts, bulk up my emergency funds in case of a recession, and continue with no consumer debt. I also wanted to stop buying things that I don't need or use and fix my overconsumption, as well as stop buying and collecting toiletries and skincare that I don't need. So I started Project Pan too. So this whole challenge is kind of a low by year, no buy year Project Pan under consumption challenge, all wrapped into one that I rebranded as Vote with My Dollar. Here are the set of rules that I made for my 4-year challenge. Feel free to borrow any of these rules for your own challenge. I went super in depth on my first video about my Vote with My Dollar challenge and answered questions from all of you. So if that's of any interest to you, go ahead and check it out, or feel free to leave a comment on this video and I can answer your questions. Just a trigger warning. I do share exact numbers. I don't share our income specifically, but I do share all of our expenses down to the penny. So if this is going to upset you, this is not my intention. Feel free to skip this video. I try to be as transparent as possible, especially because I'm a content creator who owns a small business. I have a lot of expenses to maintain my shop and produce my products, and my income fluctuates a lot. So I'm sure it can be discouraging to see me making large student loan payments, but a lot of that money is coming from the fact that I stopped shopping. I have cut my expenses down so much from this year to last year. Last year, I spent $15,000 shopping on Amazon and Target on things I don't really think I needed. This year, I've only spent a couple $100s there, and I didn't just start spending that money elsewhere. I'm just buying what I need. So I've been able to put a lot of that extra money toward my loans. So just know everybody's financial situation is different. So if you don't want to hear exact numbers, I completely understand, but it's time to exit the video. See you next time. Okay, so May 1st through the 31st, starting with our combined expenses between me and my husband, which are all of our household expenses. We paid $1,188.90 for our mortgage, taxes, and insurance. This is a fixed amount. We should be getting our notice this month about whether or not our taxes increased or decreased. Hoping for a decrease, but it's probably going to be an increase. We spent $129.58 on electric, $77.24 on gas, and $74.99 for Wi-Fi, for a total of $1,470.71 on mortgage and utilities. We spent $1,019.43 on groceries and eating out. Not our highest month and definitely not our lowest month. Lowering our expenses for food is a big focus for me for June and July, which is also when we're starting to actually get our garden up and running. So naturally, the amount of fresh produce that we're going to buy is going to be way lower, meaning our cost is going to be way lower. We spent $149.49 on pet food, which is our cat wet food delivery through Chewy. We spent $181.71 on gifts in May for my mom's birthday, Mother's Day, and Father's Day. We spent $95.15 on a party we threw at our home, and we bought 2 tickets for the Botanical Gardens. They're going to be doing a butterfly exhibit, which I'm so excited for, but we needed to reserve tickets for that, and we're going in July. So that was $40 in our date day expenses category. I bought something from my wish list. We spent $173.95 cents on a new coffee grinder. I did buy the Breville one. It was desperately needed. Although I wasn't going to replace it until this summer, there was a deal, so I ended up getting the $200 grinder for $160 plus tax, which was a great price. Our other big house purchase that was unexpected and we didn't quite plan for were 2 new batteries for our DeWalt electric mower. They were $401.29. Our last house purchase were new mats for our offices. We have rolly chairs on hardwood floors. We had previously bought cloth ones, but they never stayed clean, and we realized that they weren't actually protecting the floors. So we bought thick plastic ones for mine and my husband's office for a total of $68.83. For our business expenses, I had all the same subscriptions that I usually do for $119.35. I spent a total of $300 on postage, and then I spent $189.07 on packaging, which includes more envelopes and also a rubber stamp that says please reuse or recycle. I used to make stickers with my thermal printer, but this is less wasteful. And then once I'm out of the regular ink, I'm gonna buy vegetable-based ink to refill it. It is garden nursery season. I went to several. I bought some flowers, some vegetable plants that I didn't start from seed this year, some garden decor, some plant pots, some dirt for the garden. It's always a big expense. It's part hobby, part outdoor decor, part content, and over the month I spent a whopping $1,324.96. That is way more than I usually spend every spring. Around $300 of it was garden soil. I missed the compost delivery cutoff for a local business that I usually get. I usually buy from them every year, and it's usually a lot cheaper. It's usually only like $100. About $500 of it was new pots for indoor and outdoor plants, which basically last forever. I thrift so many pots for plants, but they're never big ones, and I had to buy some big ones this year, so that's why it was so expensive. But they'll last forever. I'm a sucker for metal yard art, and there was a lot of cute stuff at nurseries this year. I truly cannot resist. And then the rest was spent on vegetables and flowers. I also spent $87 on my massive fiddle leaf fig tree. No regrets there. On to personal expenses. I spent $6.51 on my Oura Ring subscription. I pay for this every single month. I got my car wash and spent $15.65 on it. I do get my car washed once a year. It's usually in the spring to wash off all the salt. I spent $49.08 on allergy shot appointments. I'm back to going weekly. And then $4.23 for medication copay. Next, I bought a new dress for the first time in a very long time. I thrift all of my clothing, but I am officiating my brother's wedding in July, so I needed something in a very specific gray-blue color palette. So I bought a new dress, but then I needed to spend an extra $20 to get free shipping, so I bought a second dress just for regular summer wear. They both fit, they're both beautiful. So it was a total of $131.08. Handmaid's Tale was back on Hulu, so you know I subscribed. I did a free trial with ads for like 20 days, and then I couldn't handle the ads anymore because it was the exact same ads over and over again. So it was like $6 to upgrade from the rest of the trial for ad free, and then $18.99 I think for a whole month of ad free. So that was a total of $25.11. I decided that when I'm gonna pay for streaming services, I will pay that extra money for ad free because I'm not spending a lot on streaming this year. That $25 is the only amount that I've spent on streaming so far this year. So I binged the first 5 seasons of Handmaid's Tale, and then I caught up for the rest of season 6, and I think I finished like 3 weeks early, so then each week I watched one new episode. I also binge watched Desperate Housewives, which I had never watched before, and then a couple movies. If there's anything else you think I should watch on Hulu before my subscription ends in mid-June, let me know. I'm out of things to watch. And to close out my personal expenses, I made my final student loan payment of $5,000. I am officially debt-free. We have no credit card debt, no car loans. My student loans are done. I guess we're not completely debt-free because we still have our mortgage, but I don't really consider that debt. Let me know. For now, I'm going to call myself debt-free. Now, how I am mentally. I made my final student loan payment on May 13th, and since then, I've kind of been struggling. I always want to be open and honest about the way I'm feeling, especially about this challenge. This is an incredible thing, and I'm so grateful that I was able to pay these loans off within 6 months, but I'm also struggling. I've been hustling since I started doing content creation full-time almost exactly 2 years ago. My husband jokes that I gave up my 40-hour a week job to work 24/7, which is always the case with small business owners. I put in probably over 60 hours of work every single week, but I love what I do. Once I submitted that last payment, it was like I let out this huge breath that I had been holding in. Very cliche, I know. And it was like I decided I didn't need to hustle anymore, and I'm not quite sure if that's burnout or if that's just like this new phase of life that I'm entering. If you've been here for a while or you've been on any of my other platforms, you know that I post every single day. When I go on vacation or just take some planned time off, I work extra hours before and schedule posts to go out while I'm off. But there were several days in May where I missed posts. I took several random days off where all I did was pack orders for my small business, and I basically rotted the rest of the day, which I don't really ever do. Not posting messes with my algorithm, so I kind of always post even if it's just a repost of some recipe. I also feel very weird about the fact that I just paid off the $23,000 in student loans for a degree that I don't use anymore. I would say I do use some of those skills that I learned, like video editing and photo editing, but I went to school for journalism, creative writing, and minors in photography and graphic design. And when I graduated college, I got a job at my local newspaper as a journalist, as a reporter, making minimum wage. Yes, I needed a $40,000 four-year degree to bring in $14 an hour, if that. I think it was even less than that. That's a whole other conversation. Within a year, I moved up to become the editor of my hometown newspaper, which was really awesome and a very full circle moment for me. But then COVID started and journalism kind of changed forever. So I left and took those skills to get a graphic design job on the marketing team of a local nonprofit. And I stayed there for about 2 years before I had kind of a toxic job situation. And then I decided to leave and take some time in between job searches and see if I could make content creation work full time. I gave myself 3 months. I had 6 months of salary saved up in my savings account, so I had 3 months to see if I could make content creation work full time, and 3 months to job search. And I never job searched. So for the last 2 years, I became my own boss, but then I started working 24/7 to make my next paycheck, which I do love. I absolutely love that I get to do this. But making that last payment, it's like I can breathe and I can take a break because I no longer need to bring in $8,000 to $10,000 a month to hit my goal for bills and make loan payments or previous year's house renovations. So as someone who has no idea what it's like to not hustle, I'm kind of struggling and unsure of how I want to continue and find a balance. I truly am not sure if this is just burnout or if this feeling is going to continue, where I kind of feel like a mess all of the time. I think I've been so consistent for so long that it's okay to take a break, but I also still feel wrong if I'm not hustling and getting daily content out there. So I kind of need to sit with that and figure that out. I want to do something different than just remaking content that I feel like I've done a million times before. So if there's anything that you really want to see, please leave it in the comments. That would be a big help. 2 years ago, I did struggle with this when I left my full-time job to do this full-time because at that time I was working 40 hours a week on top of doing my small business and content creation. So after I left, I was like, wow, I have all of this time. And then I proceeded to fill it with more content creation projects. So I think this is just going to be a phase and I'll fit myself back into a regular content creation routine, maybe something that's a bit more balanced and less hustle. I'm working on getting a better morning routine and staying consistent with my nighttime routine. I'm doing well with it so far, so hopefully that will help. So all that to say, if you're here and watching, I appreciate you and I'm so glad that you're here. And I appreciate your patience as I try to find what balance is going to work for me. I spent a lot more in May than I think what I had thought, and I didn't realize that until about a week ago. I had still been doing my daily tracking, but I wasn't actually looking at my annual overviews. And I think that's because once I made that final student loan payment, I took a break from thinking about money almost, which led to so many flower and plant purchases. I can't say I regret them though, because they're a hobby. I am ready to get back on track and to find my new normal, and also take some time to bulk back up my savings because it did take quite a hit while I was making student loan payments. So it will feel really good to bulk that back up, especially because we want to move in the next year. I'm hoping next month I will feel better mentally as well. That will help get me back on track. I'm trying to give myself a little bit of grace because I know that this was not going to be a perfect no-buy year. It's my first year of a 4-year challenge, and I'm really trying to heal my overconsumption, but I do feel like I am a lot better than I have been in years previous. This is now the second month in a row, though, that I've had a lot of purchases that I almost kind of justify on this, so I need to work on that for next month, definitely. I've been saying this all along, but every dollar that you spend is a vote for the world that you want to live in. The businesses you support, the industries you fund, all the money you spend shapes the world around us. It is really easy to feel powerless in a world that's dominated by big corporations, but companies will follow the money. So when we start choosing ethical, community-driven solutions, businesses will take notice. Part of my Vote with My Dollar challenge is hyper tracking all of my finances, and I can't recommend it enough. It is super eye-opening just to kind of see where all my money is going every month. I truly don't know if I would be as strict with my finances if I wasn't tracking every single penny. For those of you who are looking for an update on my Vote with My Dollar free package that I'm going to be offering, it is coming. I'm slowly but surely finishing it up, and you can start a no-buy year whenever you want. It doesn't have to be the first of a year or the first of a month. You can start today. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. If you've watched this far, you probably would vibe with some of my other content, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I've been voting with my dollar officially since January, and I hope that this challenge brings us all zero debt, maxed out retirement accounts, normal consumption, and supporting businesses that we love and stand by ethically. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and see you next time.